to Gambletown. We had a pretty good week last week. We're running pretty hot the last couple of weeks in a row. Last week as a show we were 9-6.
It's okay.
I've been so excited about how well we're doing as a show. 9-6 last week. We were 3-3 on our show on our same game parlays, 1-2 on our millionaire bets. Basically, if you tailed us last week, you cashed hard. Over the last 4 weeks, we are 33-27. On the back of Ryan's incredible heater. Ryan this
Oh yeah.
season is I just want to point out his record. He's 22-8 on the season.
Hell yeah.
He's also 4-8 on parlays, which I'm only 3-9 on parlays. As a parlay king, it's making me a little nervous because I don't want to give up my crown. But if he keeps going, he's going to like what's the word when you get rid of a king?
Depose.
He's going to depose me. Thank you.
Oh
I'm
shit.
glad we got it. I'm glad we got an English teacher here.
Well, welcome
on
to, as of the
I'm not-
record, though, this is the Democratic People's Republic of Gambletown because I'm
This
still
is
your,
true.
I'm your ruler.
Oh shit.
That
But
is
I'm
to
not-
our commissaire, and I'm going to
I'm
leave it
knocking at
to
the
our
pearly
commissaire.
gates.
Yeah. Did you say you're knocking at the pearly gates?
Yeah.
Like, Ryan, is there something? I know you said you were taking some blood pressure medication. Like, is there something I need to know?
I'm going to be real
I
with
meant-
you guys. I don't think you should take gambling advice from someone who's not on blood pressure medication.
That's
You know
right.
what? That's actually true. That's why he's on a heater. Like, he's got to constantly monitor his shit
Ryan,
because of all the
borrow-
hot takes.
Yeah, Ryan, let me borrow a couple of those pills real quick.
Sure. You want some? You want some imlodipine? Sure.
Yeah, sounds great. All right, so let's get into it. We got a bunch of games. We got another Monday night doubleheader. We got a London game. So let's wind up our sleeves and let's get it done. We're gonna start with the Patriots visiting the Jags. Jags are big time favorites. Got minus 250 on the money line. You could get a New England upset for plus 228. The line is 6, and the over under is somewhere between 41.5 and 42. Ryan, as our champ, we choose you to go first.
All right. This is a nice London game. I'm really excited to watch it, but I'm kind of scared to bet on some things with it. I will make a small little parlay because they are offering a 30% boost on most draft sites. Something with I'm just scared about Brian Thomas.
I'm not
And if
betting
you guys, yeah, if you guys know anything though about what's new on FanDuel, they have something called Your Way, and you can make adjusted lines for any like prop. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, to the yard.
Right. Tony just showed it to me last night. I think it probably just started this week. I don't think it was there last week.
It just they
Uh,
did it in like select markets and then they've rolled it out now to most
Right.
users.
So I don't want to give out any betting advice on this game just because I love the Jaguars and I will be betting something on it, but I'm not confident to put it in like my top five or any of my couple parlays for the week. Not to mention that the Jaguars, surprisingly, when they are when they're favored, let's see. What was the stat? Yeah, when they're favored in a London game, they're 1-3 outright and against the spread. So I know they're playing New England. I hope that the Jaguars can pull this off. If they don't, then I don't know what to think about the Jaguars the rest of this year.
You've lasted longer than most.
I
Right.
can tell you already know what to think about the Jaguars. You're just holding on. Like, you're holding on to that false hope. Because
I
I'm
know.
going to
So I don't want to give any of my professional gambling advice on this, even though I will be a degenerate and put some type of money in on a parlay, just hoping that it hits. But I don't want you guys to tail me and lose.
Sensical. Waleed, what do you got?
I do have one parlay in this game, because I got a boost and because the Jaguars are such a bad passing matchup. One thing I like with rookie quarterbacks is their lines are always like super deflated. I know with Caleb, it's been I'm technically profitable on Caleb.
They're not
I
even
want to
playing
point this
this
out.
week. They're not even playing this week, Waleed. Move on.
Okay, but Drake May had some he put up some statistical numbers against, like, he didn't necessarily have a good game, but he had a lot of passing yards and touchdowns against a good Houston defense. Jacksonville Jaguars, They are not a good defense.
You're correct.
And like Drake May has one of the best matchups of the week. So what I decided to do is I did a Drake May 3-leg parlay because I got a boost. I got Drake May at a plus 225, 2 touchdowns passing, and then I took Jalen Bolts over at 19.5 because wide receivers lined out wide. That's that's where the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is at its weakest. I think I'm going to regret not putting Hunter Henry in there. But honestly, I think the first 2 legs, if you just put those together, you get a nice little. You'll get a good return on that as a 2-leg parlay. And I think there's a good chance that Drake May puts up some numbers.
Okay.
So I do like that bet.
There
Okay.
was one stat I know Shane. Remember Shane was talking about Drake Mays rushing over Tony. What was he
I
saying
have
about that?
something even more descriptive than what we talked about last night.
Okay.
Drake May's only had 54 dropbacks this year, but he is second behind Jaden Daniels in scramble rate. So he scrambles on 13% of his dropbacks,
That
Okay.
checks out with his college numbers.
and he's got wheels.
Yeah.
His line is only at 27.5, guys. So
25.5 on DraftKings.
really,
Yep.
So, I will say this: if you're looking at the scrambles, New England's receivers are collectively bottom 3 in separation score, and New England's offensive line is second worst in pressure rate over expectation. So there's a good chance Drake May is running for his life, even against a bad pass defense.
sure.
You know, now that you say it, what I'm wishing I did instead of doing the Polk line, I wish I had just added Drake May scrambling, his rushing. That would have
Well,
been. I think that would have been the ad.
I have a profit boost parlay in here. I'm not going to put it on the show notes. It's something that I'm doing for fun because I got good odds on it.
Yeah.
Like FanDuel's same game parlays now are like all you need is plus 100.
Yeah.
So I'm just like fuck it, man. Like I'll lower my bets to just kind of hit that threshold. So I got Drake May at plus 150 plus passing, Trevor Lawrence at 150 plus passing, and then 3 or more receptions for both Christian Kirk and Demario Douglas. And I had plus 230 after the
I
boost.
like that.
Oh, you know what? I think I need to start doing that a little bit more because it's
Yeah.
not sexy, it's not flashy, but it's profitable. Oh, you
And
did
I'm-
that on the Thursday night game too, and that came in.
Yep.
Were
And
And
those
after that,
were those
fuck over.
were
Yeah.
those alternates, or did he use the your way thing?
No, those are alternates.
Okay.
I'll send it in the group chat. Like I just, like I'm getting plus odds. Got a nice little boost, like $10 for outcomes that seem like will happen independent of game script. Patriots play a lot of man coverage. That's Christian Kirk time. Even in his bad games, he's catching 3 passes since the first 2 weeks. And Pop Douglas had 8 targets last week, 5 more than anybody else. So
Yeah.
Nice.
They didn't have
So
a
let-
Pop Douglas line when I put that bet in, so I just
So
decided to go Polk.
let's bounce. Let's
Yeah.
move on to our next game. We are going to hop into the main slate here, and we are going to start with Tennessee visiting Buffalo. Buffalo are heavy home favorites. If you want a Tennessee upset, you can get it at plus 398 at Profit X, but do that at your own risk.
Yeah, right.
The spread is somewhere between 8.5 to 9.5 in Buffalo's favor, and the point total is between 40.5 and 41. Waleed, you got anything?
I got one bet. This actually did make my top 5 because I didn't like J.K. Dobbins' rushing line as much, so I got to go Tony Pollard over 62.5 rushing on DK, getting minus 120 on that. But Buffalo, they're giving up like 5.67 rushing yards per attempt. That is too high a line. And let's be honest, if they're not giving the ball to Tony Pollard, that just means it's in Will Levis's hands. So they're going to
Right.
feed Tony Pollard. Like that. You can run on Buffalo. Buffalo will blow you out, but you're still going to run on them. So I'm
Sure.
absolutely taking Tony Pollard here. I think this is a
Yeah.
smash bet, and I love it.
I'm gonna
Okay.
tell you too. I'm gonna tell you too as well, Waleed. Buffalo's really bad against the run, so I'll
Yeah.
add a 6th bet to my top 5 bets of the week and do Pollard's rushing over.
Love
I'm
it.
glad. I am glad. Like, if you like it, I feel better about it, Brian, because you are
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
We-
Tony's the
we talked
commissaire, but
we
you're
talked
the
about it
king right
last night
now.
on the pod. We talked about it last night on the pod, and I completely forgot about it this morning when I was going through the spreadsheet. So
Yeah.
I'll add it too.
I'm Ryan. Do you have anything in this game aside from tailing Waleed?
No, this game's gonna be ugly, I think, and I really am just interested in the rush game. So
Okay. There is one line that I like a lot. Let me see if it's up on Betstamp because Betstamp's been kind of weird over the last couple days. Let's go to, yep, it's up. Josh Allen's pass attempts line at 29.5. You can get it at minus 105 on DraftKings. Josh Allen is yet to attempt more than 30 passes in a game this season.
Yeah, that's
really,
like when I remember last week when you were talking about that Josh Allen passing over. I told you it was a risky play because the Bills are a running team. The Bills are just going to keep running and running and running. They're not
so
throwing a lot. So
Yeah.
you're on the under. You're on the under, Tony.
I would be on the under for pass attempts at 29
Yeah.
and a half. It didn't make my list, but it's a
Okay.
line that I
All
like a
right.
lot because I think that people are going to want to bet the over on that because he's got a brand new toy. But I think Amari Cooper still
Sure.
needs to learn the
That's right.
offense. Like
I didn't even look. Does he have lines up?
he does.
Okay.
They're in like the 30s, I believe. But I'm not. That's asking too much for me. I think the reason
No,
why
and it is. I was gonna say, like Shane was saying last night, it with these new toys that go to these new teams, it doesn't pan out very often within these first games.
right. So like I'm hesitant about the Tony Pollard rush line because I worry about game script. And so if you're like me and you think Buffalo goes up 21 to nothing at halftime and then just kind of slows it down, and maybe that's why you're hesitant to go with Pollard, I would go with Josh Allen's under on attempts.
Okay.
So yeah, all right, let's move on. We got Miami going to Indy. Indy are home favorites. You can get them at minus 153 at Profit X. A Miami upset could be plus 140 at ESPN Bet. Spread is 3. Total is between 43 and a half and 44. Ryan, what do you got?
I am not going to be betting anything but the under on this game. Um,
I'm
I
kind of
don't like
surprised
any.
the line is as high as it is.
I
43 and a
yeah,
half.
Yep.
right. I don't like these two teams right now. We got, the chaos that's happening in Miami with them falling apart, and for some reason they can't do anything without Tua. We've got the return of Anthony Richardson with it's kind of playing out like the same saga that's happening in Pittsburgh. Like we saw this morning that Russell Wilson is going to be starting. I don't understand that if they're winning. But now we've got Richardson back, and after Flacco looked pretty good. Um, I don't know what's going to happen, but I definitely know there's not going to be 43 and a half points. So I'm going to be betting the under on that. That's it.
Okay, Waleed.
So, like from a statistical standpoint, the advantage in this game is against Indy's pass defense. The problem with that is you have to count on Tyler Huntley
Yes.
to like hit some of those lines, and I
Right.
can't do it. So I'm with Ryan here. The under is the only bet in this game
Right.
that I have any
Can
interest in.
can I also point out too, Tony knows this, but Waleed, I want you to guess, through 6 games this year, get how many points total has Miami scored?
Through 6 games,
Yeah.
it's under 100. It's
Easily.
Yeah, it's got to be. I'm not even sure they're at.
It's lower than you think.
Are you sure? Because I'm sitting here because I know they scored some points in their first game before like
It's
they
it's
got
only
hurt. But it's like I was gonna say I'm go. Hold on, don't say anything because what I'm looking at is I was gonna say about 55.
yeah, it's 60 points they've scored.
Yeah.
And in franchise history, um 3 times have the Dolphins gone 75 or fewer points through the first 6 games. That's it. So
So here's my question then. Since Tua's been out, Miami Dolphins unders have hit consistently, right?
I think so. I didn't
They kind of have
pull
to
that
have.
up.
Yeah, I'm turning this to a green bet because that's what that stat just told me because I know they put up points that
Yeah.
first game.
So, as for me in this game, one of my degenerates gambit bets, you can find the article on footballabsurdity.com, was the Miami Indianapolis under at 43 and a half.
Oh
So I
yeah.
think we're all pretty in on the under in this game.
Yes, we
Also,
are.
most likely a Colts win. Colts are 5-1 against the spread this year and 3-0 against the spread at home. So
Okay.
they'll probably win by a touchdown at least.
Let's move on to
But
a game that
definitely under their points.
let's move on to a game that we actually want to talk about because it's embarrassing how long we talked about Miami, Indianapolis.
Yeah.
We are going Detroit to Minnesota. Minnesota home favorites. You can get a money line at -115 at Profit X. You can get a plus odd Detroit 106 at FanDuel money line. The spread is between 1 and 1.5, and the over under is at 50.5. Waleed, start us off.
So I do have a bet in this game, but I know that you guys are already covering this bet in your top five, and I think you have way more information to talk about than I do. So I'm just
Okay.
going to defer and say there's only one bet I care about. It's my millionaire bet, but I want these guys to talk about it first.
Ryan, go ahead, baby.
Sure, I got a bunch of stuff in this game. Detroit, I have Detroit winning this game outright as part of my money line parlay this week. I have my same game parlay is from this game. One of my top five bets this week is Justin Jefferson's receiving over at 91.5. I think he at least gets over 100. As I pointed out earlier and on the pod last night, Justin Jefferson in 8 career games against Detroit has 1,073 yards. That is the most by any player in NFL history through their first 8 games against any single opponent. So let's get those over 100 yards. I'm hesitant to bet the rush game other than maybe a Monty or Gibbs touchdown. Minnesota gives up the second fewest rush yards per game at 67.2. And the fewest rushing touchdowns per games at point 0.2. So a lot of my stuff, my same game parlay is going to deal with Goff's passing because I think if Detroit is going to win this game, like I think, it's going to be a very interesting over game. I know it's high. What is it at 50? Would you say it was 50.5?
50.5,
Uh,
51.
so I think in order for Detroit to get this game done, they're going to have to kind of tail back a little bit on their running presence because it might not work as good as they think, and they'll have to pass a lot. So my same game parlay this week is Justin Jefferson's over 91.5. I've got Sam Laporta at over 3.5 receptions. I've got Jamison Williams over 47.5, and I've got Goff's over 254.5 pass yards. That's plus 604. I put 5 units down to one a little over 35. Um, yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, Jamison Williams, 14 or more fantasy points in 5 of 6 games this year. So
I love to hear it. All right, Waleed, what do you got? Oh, you already said you're deferring.
Yep.
All right, so my same game parlay is in this game. I am taking Darnold over 225, Goff over 225, and that Jefferson over 91.5 receiving yards. I got that at plus 186, so that would give me, I think, $28 back. So I also have one of my top five bets of the week, Justin Jefferson over 100 receiving yards. I mean, guys, it's a long show. We got a lot of games to cover. I just want to say this is the nuts matchup. Like
right,
he just
right,
drew the
Yep.
nuts for sure.
yeah.
Um, Darnold kills it when he's not under pressure. Even with Aiden O'Connell, even with Aiden
Aiden
Hutchinson, the Lions were
Hutchinson.
not pressuring the quarterback. That's only going to make things worse for the Lions' pass funnel defense.
Yep.
I really think actually like one of my favorite DFS plays this week is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown because I think he's going to be underowned in a great matchup. But at the same time, like let's just kind of do some Justin Jefferson stat porn real quick.
Hell yeah.
Justin Jefferson has over 6 yards per route run and 0.43 targets per route run against man. So like when they get man defense looks, he gets targeted on almost 50% of his routes and gets 6 yards per route run. And Detroit plays man at the fourth highest rate. He's got 80 plus receiving yards in 4 straight games. Like you were saying, Ryan, last year crushed him. He had lines of 12 catches, 192 yards and a touch. And he's also got games of 6 for 141. He had a game of 11 catches for 223 yards. That's good,
Um,
folks. Um,
Also, oh yeah, finish
no,
up, Tony.
no, go ahead.
Then
What
I
do you
got
got?
one last thing. I was gonna say too, Minnesota this year, another reason why I think Detroit is going to win this game outright. Um, Minnesota is 5-0 against the spread this year. if they go 6-0 against the spread, they'll be the first team to go 6 games covering the spread since 2009. I don't think that's going to happen.
Sure.
Not with Sam Darnold.
You can get Amon-Ra 74.5 on BetMGM, by the way.
Ooh, nice.
So
I think Campbell's just not going to let up on the gas because he knows this is a huge matchup, and even if they're up by 20 points, Minnesota still has a chance to come back. So I don't think he's going to let up the gas.
Minnesota's slot cornerback he's allowed 339 yards receiving while listed as the primary defender this year.
Nice.
So
That's a good matchup for Sun God.
Yep. So I think that's a good pivot, especially in DFS if you're playing in larger tournaments. But yeah, so we all love Jefferson. Waleed, where do you got Jefferson?
Oh, I have him in my millionaire bet. I have him
tell us
getting
about it.
150 yards at plus
Oh,
480.
hell yeah.
Because let's be honest, history's on my side here. Justin Jefferson was my wide receiver one going into this season for fantasy. I have a bet that he's going to lead the NFL in receiving yards this year. The reason for that is very simple. Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in football. He has proven that
You were right.
consistently. And the only reason everyone forgot about him is because we all do this every year. If good players get hurt, for some reason they get downgraded. And I always will take that edge. I love me some Justin Jefferson this week.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Let's go to a game that's much less interesting. Cincinnati visiting Cleveland. Cincinnati road favorites. You can get them at minus 230 on DraftKings. A Browns upset plus 223 at Profit X. Spread is 5.5. Point total 41.5. Waleed, since you so kindly deferred last time, why don't you kick this one off?
So this game, there's only two players that I think are really worthwhile for the edge. It's David Njoku and it's Mike Gesicki, because that's like the tight end is where both of these teams are bad at defending. But I can't, in good conscience, I can't bet on any Njoku line while the bad man is at quarterback. Not just because he's a bad man, he's also a bad quarterback. He's a really bad quarterback, and he might pepper Njoku with targets. He might also just completely implode because obviously Cincinnati knows that they're going for Njoku. They're going to try to take him out. On the flip side, like you could inline routes against Cincinnati against Cleveland, also like doable. But Cleveland's defense is terrible. I don't want any part of this game, so I'm not going to touch it. Sorry, that
Okay.
was a lot of words for fuck this game.
Ryan?
I will say I don't have very much anything in this game. But one thing I am going to be looking at is the Browns under total 17.5 points. The Browns have gone under their total in all 6 games this year, and of all all the teams for Joe Burrow to finally get his first win in Cleveland against, it's going to be this one. I think since our Cleveland struggles to get over 17.5 points, that's the only thing I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Okay. I like Joe Burrow a lot this week in DFS. I don't know if this game he's gonna need to pass very often because of how bad Cleveland's offense is. But Burrow has the best defense adjusted expected fantasy points per dropback this week. Cleveland's in man on 48% of their pass snaps.
Ooh.
Burrow averages 3/4 of a fantasy point per dropback against man coverage.
That's real interesting.
And the Browns allow 0.5 fantasy points per dropback while in man to quarterbacks.
Okay.
Do you know, like, for a quarterback to get a point, that's like 25 passing yards. So Cleveland's allowing either without touchdowns. Obviously, it's going to change the number, but like almost 12 yards of completion in man coverage. That's in dropback per dropback.
Right.
So also the Browns lead the league in pressure rate, but when Burrow's under pressure, he still averages 8.7 yards per attempt, and he's got a plus 6.6% completion percentage over expected when under pressure. He's back.
Nice.
Guys. He's back. Also, before we go, I want to say in season long, in redraft, in dynasty, whatever you can, get David Njoku.
Yeah.
Because Jameis is going to play at some point. You know that David Njoku had a 30% target share in week 6?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
In 7 quarters of work, he has 13 targets.
Holy shit.
Yep.
But do you guys want to guess what his ADOT is on his 13 targets?
1.
5.
2.8 yards.
Are you kidding me?
That sounds about right. I was about to say we'll split the difference, probably be there.
I thought I was going low with 5.
No,
He has 36 air yards over his 13 targets.
Oh my
It's-
god.
yeah, Cleveland's bad. Stefanski should have been like. God, it was such a mirage last year.
Okay, we got a question in the chat. Full PPR, pick one between Love or Cousins.
Full PPR Love or Cousins?
Correct.
I mean, it doesn't really matter if it's half PPR or full PPR. With the
Well,
quarterback.
There's a
It's
flex question too.
I'll give away one of my top 5 bets of the week since I'm taking the over in the Houston Green Bay game. I'm going to go with Love.
See, I'm going the other way. I think I'm going Cousins here because that Seattle pass defense, like this is a really good matchup for Cousins. Actually, you know what? This is a good time for that game because isn't that the game we're about to go to?
No, we're not done with this
Oh.
game. I got something to say still.
Okay.
But I'm weighing
oh.
in. I'm on Team Love, by the way.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna actually say Team Love because the fact is Love is pretty much a set and forget quarterback at this point. He's throwing it like one of the highest rates of any quarterback in football, and he's just really good. So
And if you include the postseason, Jordan Love has thrown for multiple touchdown passes in 10 straight.
okay, that it's Love.
And then so also the reason why full PPR does matter: Chubb, Dobbs, or Shakir.
Dobbs or Shakir.
I don't think Shakir is going to get that much looks. I mean, to me, it's between Chubb and Dobbs.
Same.
And full PPR. Chubb
Full
coming
PPR,
back. I think I'm leaning Dobbs here just because of the
yeah,
staff.
I'm going Dubs too just because of Love. Might as well pair them together.
Yeah.
Shakir, I think, is going to regress in his targets just because Amari Cooper's there now. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. It's tough. I think it's a coin flip. I'm gonna go Dobbs because of ceiling, but I think this is a good way to introduce my millionaire bet of the week.
Ooh.
okay,
My millionaire bet this week is a Nick Chubb touchdown.
nice.
A Nick Chubb touchdown you can get at a plus 130. I'm rolling in my $27. So if it hits, I'll be getting 62 back.
Ooh, love it.
Listen, here's why I'm going Dobbs, because I think Dobbs leads that offense in routes run in like every game. And Chubb is only going to play 10 snaps, 20 snaps.
Yeah.
So appreciate you, Kyle. I'm going Dobbs. I just think you want the guy that's going to be on the field the most.
Sure. And I think the touchdown is the correct bet for that because if they do get down to the 2 or 3 yard line, they're going to try it at least once or twice with Chubb to get into that zone.
Nick Chubb is the heart and soul of that team.
Yeah, he is. That player's what was the article called? The Players
Tribune. Yeah, his comeback article.
That Nick Chubb, if you have not read the Players Tribune, it's fantastic. I love Chubb, but I don't think he's going to get the workload this week. Not coming off that knee injury.
I saw him give a press conference about coming back, and all of the players were off screen cheering for him. And to me, this is a team that needs a win.
Well, they also need someone that's not Deshaun Watson to freaking rally behind.
So as I was saying, like they need a win, like a moral victory, right? Like they need something to hang their hat on. They're playing like shit. Everybody fucking hates them. So I think they're gonna work as hard as they can to get Nick Chubb in the end zone. I think Cincinnati covers. That's one of my Degenerates Gambit plays of the week. I think they cover 5.5.
Interesting.
I think Cincy's a much better team.
It's an interesting bet. Joe Burrow still has never won in Cleveland. So
yep, but I don't think they've ever played a Cleveland team this bad.
That's true.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm still I know like his record against Cleveland is not good, but the only thing worse than his record against Cleveland is Cleveland itself.
There you go.
That's true.
So let's move on. We got Houston going to Green Bay. Green Bay home favorites minus 148 at DraftKings. Houston road upset plus 134 on Profit X. Spreads 2.5. Total is 48.5. Waleed, what do you got?
I don't have anything in this game.
Okay, Ryan, what do you got?
Really? All right. So I got some stuff from this game. I'm taking Houston in my money line parlay for this week. It's outright win. Um, I also am one of my top 5 bets of the week is the over 47.5 points. I think this will be a surprisingly baller-ass game. Um, Along with the Detroit, Minnesota, I think it's going to be like the same game strip back and forth. Um, I also have Tank Dell's over 4.5 receptions. Him and Dalton Schultz have been getting way more targets as we saw last week with Nico out. So I'm all over Tank Dell's 4.5 receptions, especially because if this is going to go back and forth, that's at least that's at least 1 or 2 catches each drive. I could see 6, 7, 8 catches for Tank Dell.
Yep.
Um, Let's see what else. I think that's all I had in this game. Uh,
Okay.
let's see. What is this? What was the spread on this game? 2.5. Okay. It'll be tough. It'll be tough, for Houston to outright win this game. NFC North teams right now are 17-3 against the spread in non-division games this season, and 3-0 last week. Um, but I'm thinking they're going to break the mold, and Houston's going to win this game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. We are going to Seattle and Atlanta. Seattle road underdogs. Falcons minus 152 to win at home. You can get plus 138 for Seahawks upset at Profit X. Line spread is 3. Line is 50.5. Ryan, what do you got?
In this game, I don't have anything. I think this will be a fun game to watch, but I'm hesitant to bet like the Metcalf or the Geno line. I think Seattle has a surprisingly better week than they've been playing. Um, but I don't have anything in this game personally.
Okay. Waleed?
See, this game I find it. This game there's a lot of bets that I thought were interesting. I was looking into Bijan and Algier rushing totals at 62.5 and 36.5, respectively, because Seattle has given up 5.22 yards, uh, per rush attempt on the season, but they're also giving up 5.6 yards over the last 4 weeks. Their run defense has been getting worse, so I think both of those lines could be interesting. But the line that I think I like the most is I Drake London at 68.5 on FanDuel is one of my top 5 bets of the week. Like Seattle's giving up over the
Whoa.
last 4 weeks over 10 yards per pass attempts to wide receivers. They're giving up over the last 4 weeks 11.95 yards per pass attempt per target to receivers lined up wide. Like this matchup for Drake London is such a smash. So I'm taking, and also Drake London, one of the 5 best receivers in football in fantasy right now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bet on Drake London. He's been my guy all offseason. I'm not going to go away from that. Mooney's line is at 52.5 is interesting, but I worry because in line, Seattle's also really bad against tight end. On inline routes, you're giving up 10.88 yards per target and 10 yards over the last 4 weeks. Kyle Pitts line at 40.5 did not make my top 5 bets of the week, but it's probably a secondary bet that I will make. Um,
Sure.
Kirk Cousins passing over. The other thing, and that's why I ended up going back to Love on that other question. His line right now is 264.5. He's only come close to hitting that once this season when he smashed that over. He's not actually throwing for a lot of yards overall, so I'm a little nervous about that.
I think
So
it
I
might
think
be
I think
more.
I think I yeah I think the 2 bets in this game that are worth eyeing are the Kyle Pitts and the Drake London over. Everything else is a little bit more suspect.
Yeah, that's why I'm hesitant because I don't know how this is going to. Because Seattle's defense is so bad. They're even bad against the run. They've allowed 868 rushing yards this
Hey,
year. That's
there's
fifth
a
most in the
reason. There's a
league.
reason I was talking about it.
Yeah, and they're giving up 5 yards per carry to the run too. So
Yeah, yeah. No, so that's where I'm at on this game.
Okay. Are you guys good?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. I got something in this game that I like. Waleed, you touched on it. I'm not putting it in top 5 bets because I don't want to put it on my record just in case, but I'm saying it with my chest because I love this play. I think it's a great DFS salary saver too.
Yep.
Tyler Algiers rushing at over 40.5 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Great. Tyler Algiers' snap share keeps getting bigger and bigger. His overall backfield share just keeps getting bigger. If you think Atlanta wins this game, and they're projected to, Algier is their closer.
Yeah.
That's true.
Last week, Algier had 10 of his 18 carries in his last two drives, the last two drives of the game when Atlanta was icing it out.
Oh, that's nice to know. That's real interesting.
So the Falcons are a zone running team, which is kind of the reason why Bijan's not exploding because he's a man gap guy, and of course, coaches don't like to change their schemes to the talents of their first round draft picks. But the Seahawks have given up the 5th most rushing yards on zone concept run plays, and Bijan has a 4.87 yards per carry on zone. Algier 5.38.
Ooh. So
Nice.
what Tony said, if you get any live boosts, the way to probably play it, if you see Atlanta is up by like 7 points, 10 points in that fourth quarter or in that third quarter, that's when you use that boost on that Tyler Algier over because
Yep.
that's when he's going to start getting his workload.
That
You
shit,
might
that's
be
what
able
we
to get some.
that's what we did Thursday night with Audric Estime.
Yep, and that
That's
ended up being a
right. That's
solid
right.
play.
Yep. Because we were like, oh, they're up by 2 touchdowns. Well, they're going to give the rookie some pop. They've already given him a couple carries,
Yep.
and it took until 5 minutes left in the fourth, but he got it.
He got it by a significant amount too.
He did. All right, let's move on. We're going Philly, the Giants. Philly on the road. They are road favorites. You can get them for -160 at BetMGM. A Giants home win plus 149 on ProfitX. Spreads 3.5. Or sorry, the spreads 3.5. Line is 42.5. Ryan, start us off.
Guys, I'm so excited for this game. As you all know, if you listen to TH Fantasy podcasts, I'm a big lover of tight ends.
Oh,
my
that's right.
it's my favorite position in football to watch, to research. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but Grant Calcaterra is starting tight end this week. I am so in for this game, and I will only be watching when the Eagles are on offense. Well, I'll probably watch a little more because I want to see Malik Neighbors. But
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan.
uh,
Who had the second most receiving yards last week on the Eagles?
Grant Calcaterra.
Thank you.
Woo.
I think he's good for at least 4 or 5 catches, maybe 8 targets. And my millionaire bet this week is going to be a Grant Calcaterra touchdown at plus 500 to get me back to being on top of this millionaire challenge. As we all know, I've had a streak this year. I won 3 or 4 weeks in a row. But haven't done that good outside of the 1 week I won. I've been doing good with the millionaire bet, but I haven't had the streaks going. I think I'm 4 of 6 or 3 of 6.
Sure.
But this week it's going to happen. Grant Calcaterra touchdown. That's all I got from this game.
If you win, you rule Gambletown. I think, right?
Unfortunately, no, he doesn't.
Oh no, not if Chubb gets a touchdown. You're
What?
right.
If Chubb gets a touchdown, you're cooked anyways.
Yeah,
Oh shit.
All right, Waleed, what do you got?
you can make it a 2-touchdown bet if you really want to try to take
No,
over Gambletown.
Why are we
I
wasting
don't even
people's
think they
time?
entertain that.
Waleed, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So this game, what I was looking at here, Philadelphia's run defense is not very good. They're giving up 5 yards per rush attempt. The problem is, I've learned my lesson on betting Devin Singletary overs, and I don't know if it's going to be Singletary or Tracy, so I'm going to fade this game.
Okay.
But I
By
do
the
think
way-
Tyrone Tracy and DFS could be really interesting.
By the way, Grant Calcaterra 2 touchdown is plus 6,000.
Oh, I think I just talked Ryan into throwing a random
Get the
bet
fuck-
for a
get the
2-touchdown
No,
game.
I'm
We're
sorry.
moving
I'm
on.
sorry.
We are moving on, you fucking assholes. All right. All right. Listen up, because I have a top 5 bet of the week in this game. And it is an AJ Brown over at 72.5 receiving yards on DraftKings.
Love it.
Awesome.
You guys, why is AJ Brown's receiving line at 72.5? He's played 2 games this year. He has 11 catches for 235 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's insane.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm glad you have that because I was already planning on betting. I always tail my boys millionaire bet or my boys like top 5 bets because we all have good records. So I'm gonna
Right.
trust. I know their process is good. Um, so I'm gonna go
So
with it.
so it's a good matchup. The Giants are giving up the 11th most receiving yards per game and the 10th most yards per route run to aligned out wide receivers. Unfortunately, and we talked about this a little bit on the podcast last night, the TH Fantasy podcast, which you should be listening to. New episode just dropped a little bit ago. Um, Unfortunately, so AJ Brown's run 59 routes this year. Dude, Nick Sirianni's still running this offense. I don't know if anyone's really reporting on this, but this offense that was supposed to be Kellen Moore's offense is absolutely being run by Sirianni right now. Listen to this. AJ Brown's run 59 routes this year. 40 of them are either slants, go routes, or hitches.
Interesting.
That seems like a terrible way to use your best player.
Yeah,
So he has an elite win rate of over 20% on all of those. But like, could you fucking imagine if they actually like ran some like outs or digs or corners or
comebacks. Yeah,
posts,
Right.
like anything? But anyways, I don't think it fucking matters. AJ Brown is the dude. The Giants blitz a lot. They play a lot of man. AJ Brown crushes. I'm not worried about it. I do have like there's a FanDuel Gronkowski touchdown boost. And my 2-leg touchdown boost is Kyron Williams and Saquon Barkley. This is a revenge game for Saquon.
Oh,
Um,
I love that.
I think
Oh, yeah.
Saquon gets in the end zone. I don't even think like they're in New York. You know Nick Sirianni's a petty bitch.
Yeah,
He wants to get Saquon in the end zone. So I
I
think
think
the Saquon
Saquon wants to do it too.
I do. Yeah, I agree. So I think Saquon, Giant
I,
for life. Saquon Barkley is going to score a touchdown for sure
I
this
haven't
week.
used my Gronk touchdown boost, but I'm absolutely tailing that because
Yeah, I haven't used it
I
yet.
like that.
Cool. So AJ Brown's receiving over in this game seems to me to be pretty straightforward. One of my top 5 bets of the week. Let's move on. We're
Nice.
in the afternoon games now. Let's go Carolina to Washington.
I had one
Washington,
quick question for you guys
sure.
on that last game though. Do we actually think it's 100% that like the Eagles are going to win this game? I
Oh no,
kind of think
Shane said on the pod
No.
that it's a Giants
Yeah.
win.
I feel because I
Yes.
feel
Yeah.
like that Giants money line is a really interesting play. I think the Giants are better than we think they are, and the Eagles are a
Yeah.
lot worse than we think they are. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
interested in this. So yeah, okay, I was just curious. I just wanted your thought on that. Like
Yeah.
if I was crazy for looking at that
No,
Giants and
you're not
thinking,
alone.
okay,
All
Yeah.
right,
Sorry,
so
guys. I was wrong on the Giants. I'm sorry. But they're actually better than I thought they'd be this year.
yeah,
Brian Dable's a hell of a fucking coach, man.
he is.
All right, so the opening of the afternoon slate. It's only a 3-game slate, which sucks ass, but they're 3 pretty interesting games. First, we're starting with Carolina on the road to Washington. Washington, major home favorites. You can get them at minus 426. Carolina road upset plus 400. Line is 8.5 over under 51.5. Waleed, start us off.
I have so much going on in this game. First off, I want to say if you don't have some shares of Andy Dalton in DFS this week, you're doing it wrong. Uh, Jaden Daniels this week also really fun play. I don't know if I like his passing over. Like I think the margins are there for it to be a full advantage, like something you can take full advantage of. Also, I think there's going to be a lot of running in this game, but Chuba Hubbard's a bet that looks good. So let's talk about Andy Dalton here. Um, Washington's giving up 8.08 yards per pass attempts. And that line has been pretty consistent over the last 4 weeks. So Andy Dalton at only 233.5. It's a solid line. Like he has the potential to be a top 5 like yardage output at quarterback this week. Jaden Daniels at 241.5. I don't think the margins are there, but over the last 4 weeks, Carolina's giving up 8.13 yards per pass attempt. Chuba Hubbard, this is the one that looks really interesting to me.
Mhm.
We got Washington giving up 5.3 yards per rush attempts. Uh, but over the last 4 weeks, they're giving up 5.6 yards per rush attempt. So Chuba Hubbard, really good value. 70.5 on Bet Rivers at minus 112. I feel like that's a solid line. Terry McLaurin over 63.5 on FanDuel. Uh, for wide receivers lined up wide. Carolina's giving up 9.8 yards. Not just on the season, over the last 4 weeks, they've consistently been giving up big plays to receivers out wide. And Scary Terry, man, it's amazing how much more we like him when he has a good fucking quarterback. Am I right?
Right?
Like
Yeah.
I'm so happy to see Terry McLaurin doing things. But
Right.
the real bet for me, my top 5 bet of the week on this game, Deontay Johnson over 64.5 on BetMGM. Washington giving up over wide receivers lined out wide over the last 4 weeks, giving up 9.8 yards per target. Deontay Johnson, since Andy Dalton has taken over, has been a monster. Now the real concern is if he doesn't play, I don't know what I'll do. I'm just gonna flip my top 5 bet to Chuba Hubbard and tail these two guys because sorry, a little
Okay.
spoiler alert. But yeah, I'm done. Like there's
Okay.
so much in this game that I love.
Okay, Ryan.
Hell yeah. Um, Listen, I do like the Washington minus 8.5. I think this game has a chance to put up a lot of points, as evidenced by the 51.5 point line. The Commanders have covered 5 straight games. Um, so I think they're going to win by at least 2 touchdowns, but it'll be like, 38-21 or something like that. They'll get a good lead. I also have 2 of my top 5 bets from this week in here. I have Hubbard's over 70.5 rushing. Thank you, Shane, for exposing me to that and exposing me to Chuba Hubbard. Um, I also have Zach Ertz over 29.5 yards. He's been getting more involved in the offense. He's also one of my mid-tier kind of shitty tight ends of the week for DFS.
The week.
Um,
Of the week.
and he had almost 70 yards last week on 4 catches, and it's evidence that Jaden Daniels is developing a rapport with him. So
I want to
30
throw out
yards.
something real quick. Carolina giving over the last 4 weeks giving up to tight ends 9 yards. So
9 yards
Zach
what?
Ertz 9 yards per target. So basically,
Oh,
if he gets
okay.
4 targets, there's a good chance he hits his.
Yeah. Yeah, 30 yards. 30 yards I think seems easy for Ertz. So
Such a low
um
line.
I also have Washington as part of my 4-leg money line parlay this week.
Okay. Waleed, you went, Ryan went. All right, I got some stuff cooking. I love Chuba this week. Over 70.5 rushing yards, one of my top 5 plays of the week. Chuba Hubbard's had 92 or more rushing yards in 4 straight.
Nice.
So the way Fantasy Points data does their matchups of the week, they combine the offensive line's yards before contact per attempt, and then they mix it with the defense's yards before contact allowed per attempt. Carolina's got the best adjusted yards per attempt matchup of the week.
Yeah, they do.
Of the week.
Of the week.
So there's actually something that as we're talking, I want to start cooking up. Something that I'm probably only going to hang a couple bucks on because it's kind of a wild hair inspired at the last moment type deal. Terry McLaurin's got an incredible matchup. Deontay Johnson's got an incredible matchup. Chuba's got an incredible matchup, and I think Brian Robinson is a lock to score this week.
Okay.
So he's gonna play for sure.
That's the thing. That's why I'm waiting.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Brian Robinson, like he's put up games where it's like 8 carries, 17 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, I think that like I would love to do like an adjusted receiving line for Terry and a shorter rushing line for Chuba just in case, maybe like 50, a B-Rob touchdown and then like a 3 or 4 Deontay Johnson reception game.
When you throw that out in the group chat, like make sure you do because I will tail that because those are
Okay.
all plays that I like this week.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Also, one of the non-show parlays that I put together on Prize Picks was Chuba Hubbard over 16.5 longest rush.
Oh, okay. I like that. Because Washington is giving up explosive runs.
Sure are. And Chuba's got like I think a 8% explosive rush rate.
Yeah, he does. I was surprised
So-
at how good his explosive rush rate was because it
Yep.
doesn't feel like he's an explosive guy to me. I'm
Well,
sorry.
he was also terrible last year in that metric. He had like
Yeah, he was.
he was like 42nd out of 43 in explosive rush rate last year.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on. We got Las Vegas going to LA to play the Rams. Rams are major home favorites, minus 304. A Vegas upset, plus 275. Spread is 6.5. Over under 43.5. We're all talking Brock Bowers. Ryan, you go first.
Yeah, you guys can talk about this game. The only thing I like in this game, because it's Tony's Aer Lingus game of the week,
It is.
is the over 43.5, which has inspired me now to every week do a Aer Lingus over parlay that I'll use 3 or 4 different games. And this week I did this game, Seattle Atlanta's over, Detroit Minnesota's over, and Houston Green Bay's over. Um, so yeah, only thing I have for this game is the over 43.5.
Okay. Waleed?
So I love Brock Bowers this week, but actually I'm gonna save him for last because there's one other player here that has to be mentioned. That is Kyron Williams
Yes,
against
sir.
the Las Vegas Raiders run defense. If you've been listening to me in our Discord at all, my constant arguments has been if you are a running back playing against the Raiders, you need to put them in DFS lineups because the Raiders run
Mhm.
defense is probably the worst in
Right.
football. I
There's
mean,
there is a reason that Kyron Williams 2 touchdown bet is plus 230. That's it.
yeah. Kyron Williams at 88.5, that rushing over feels like it's a solid line. It didn't quite make my top 5 bet of the week because I only like having one bet in a single game in my lineup. I don't like having 2 bets from one game in my top 5 bets. So Kyron did not make the cut, but I'm absolutely going to be betting this. What did make the cut though is the matchup that is somehow even better than the Raiders run defense, and that is Brock Bowers against the LA Rams against tight ends. So I'm gonna spit out some numbers for you here. On the season, the Rams are giving up 12.83 yards per target to tight ends. Over the last 4 weeks, per target, that's 16.3 yards per target. 16.3 yards per target. For inline routes per targets on the season, the Rams are giving up 13.71 yards per inline target. Over the last 4 weeks, 18.14. 18 yards per target to inline routes, and you're only giving me a line of 60.5 on Brock Bowers. Not only do I like the Brock Bowers over on receiving yards, I'm taking his reception over at over 5.5. And I'm gonna do a same game parlay. I haven't figured out where I'm gonna do it because some line places haven't posted the Brock Bowers touchdown, but this is my favorite parlay of the week. Brock Bowers over 60.5, over 5.5 receptions and touchdown. That's plus 3.5. But there's one place that's going to give me 100% parlay boost, and that's where I'm going to use it so that I can get myself a 650 on Brock Bowers just going ham wild. The touchdown bet has me a little nervous, but they're so bad about tight ends. And let's be honest, what else are they throwing? It's Brock
Well,
Bowers.
well, I think this is a good time for me to hop in and mention that Brock Bowers is receiving over at 61.5 is one of my top 5 bets of the week.
Yeah.
I want to say that in the games without Devontae Adams, Brock Bowers has a 29% first read target share. He's targeted on 32% of his routes run. He's had 2 in his back-to-back games without Devontae Adams. He's had 10 or more targets, 8 or more catches, over 71 yards.
Good God. It's That line
Um,
is too low, and I love it. You get that with rookies, like because he's had a couple of inconsistent games, which has probably helped keep that line a little bit deflated. But I
well,
feel like it's just going to keep going up.
I also want to say that the Rams, you guys have talked about how bad the Rams are against tight ends. They're so bad against tight ends that the last time they took the field, they made everyone think that Tucker Kraft was a high-end dynasty tight end. Just food for thought.
I did love
Um,
Tucker Kraft that week.
so then also I wanted to point out really quick, if you're into playing DFS, for DraftKings scoring, when the Rams win, Kyron averages 21.6 DK points per game.
Yeah.
So put Kyron in your DFS lineups. I think a touchdown comes in there. He's also had 19 or more carries, 89 or more rushing yards, and 104 or more scrimmage yards in 3 straight games. I have a single bet that I have. It's not on my top 5 list. I'm thinking if I want to replace something. I don't think I do. So I'm probably going to take it off the sheet. Cooper Cup most likely back this week. And if he's back, his line at 56.5 receiving yards is a joke.
Yeah. If he's back, he's going to smash that line. The other thing I was telling Tony earlier, you can get plus 550 for Cooper Kupp to have 100 yards. If you remember the last time Cooper Kupp was injured and came back from injury and his line was deflated, he had 125 yards receiving. Like when Cooper, if he's healthy enough to come back, he's probably going to be back, and he's the best receiving option on that team. So you can get some sneaky value from that if you feel like gambling. Which,
Yep.
let's be honest, you're in Gambletown. So if you
Here
don't
we
feel
are,
like
baby.
gambling, you're in the wrong spot.
Here we are. All right, let's move on. Kansas City, San Francisco. San Francisco, slight home favorites. You can get them at minus 119 on the money line at Profit X. A Kansas City money line upset plus 111. The spread is 1.5, and the total is 46.5. Waleed, start us off.
So in this game, there are two bets that I think are kind of interesting here. I like Travis Kelce over 60.5 on DraftKings. He is the
I don't
San
know.
Francisco 49ers. Huh?
I was gonna say I don't know if I necessarily like the yardage, but I do like the reception at 5.5. Mahomes got no one else to throw to. He averages like 330 yards playing against the the 49ers. Um, yeah, yeah.
Well, what else you
Okay.
got, Waleed?
Well, I can tell you something about that might maybe make you change your mind. Yards per target to the slots. Kansas City is giving up 10.6 yards per target to the slot. Travis Kelce leads the team in routes run from the slot, targets per route run, and yards per route run from the slot. So he is like, this is his matchup. Like, so if he's going to do something, this is where he's going to do it. That's why I think this is like, I will take good players in a plus matchup. And we all know Brandon Staley. Like,
Sure.
what remember last year with the Chargers? What happened to teams in the slot? They got destroyed. So I will take that matchup every freaking time. On the flip side of this game, I'm going to take. I want to see actually if his yards are still at 60. Yeah, they're still at 60.5. The other line. This almost made my top 5 bet of the week. George Kittle over 51.5 receiving yards on FanDuel. Kansas City's one of the worst defenses against tight ends this year, and I don't think people have figured it out. They've given up the second
Oh
most
yeah.
the second most okay, my notes say the Chiefs have given up the second most parts. I think that's meant to say targets, but
I like the narrative of Kittle versus Kelsey showdown. It should be
yeah.
good. Yeah.
Well, George
Waleed,
Kittle's the best tight end in football right
Waleed,
now.
let me help you out. Kansas City
Thank you.
allows the highest receiving yards per game to tight ends at 81.8, and they allow the highest targets per game to tight ends at 9.6.
There we go. On inline routes, over the last 4 weeks, they're giving up 10.6 yards per target to the tight end. So, like, George Kittle's the best tight end in the football right now. Like,
Yes,
it's not debatable. And his line only being 51.5 is kind of ridiculous. Like, that line should have gone up a little bit at this point. But
Yeah.
at the same time, if they're going to give you a good line, you'd be foolish not to take it.
There you go.
And I want to point out that line's actually gone up like 2 yards since I put that in my
The,
notes. So
the only thing I got from this game is I think San Francisco's going to win. Despite the Chiefs being 5-0, they've only outscored their opponents by 33 points, and that's the lowest point differential by any 5-0 team since 2004.
well, honestly, they shouldn't be 5-0. They got gifted a couple games.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah. So I'm interested to watch this because yes, it's the Super Bowl matchup, revisited. But I think I'm gonna enjoy watching this game more than betting on it.
Okay.
Probably.
I have one thing in this game, and it's for the Degenerates Gambit article on Football Absurdity. I took the Kansas City money line.
Yeah.
Really?
I also
Tony
think
bet against Patrick Mahomes.
I'm not betting against Andy Reid.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on. We've got the Jets going to Pittsburgh. Jets are road favorites. You can get them at minus 122 on the money line at FanDuel. A Pittsburgh home win plus 113 at Profit X. Spreads 1.5. Lines 38. I got nothing. What do you got, Waleed?
So both Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams are over 50.5 on FanDuel for receiving yards. For wide receivers lined out wide over the last 4 weeks, Pittsburgh's giving up 9.9 yards per target. It's a question of which guy you like. I think both bets could come in solid. Those are the only lines that I think are worth examining in this game.
Okay. Ryan?
So guys, remember last week when I said unders are awesome on Sunday Night Football? Well, guess what happened last week? Another under,
Underhit.
right?
Yeah.
So the unders right now for Sunday Night Football are 6-0 this season, 32-10 since 2022. So and now they just announced that Russell Wilson's going to be playing. This game's going to be a shit show. This
It's
game's going
like
to be
they
a shit
want your
show.
under to hit.
Right, right. So only thing I got on this is under. Now another stat about Rodgers too. Did you know that Rodgers, like silently under the radar, has 28 consecutive games with fewer than 300 passing yards? That's the longest streak in the NFL and the longest of Rodgers' career. I really like that I bet his passing yards under this year. So this game screams under to me. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. Waleed?
I already did this.
Okay. Yeah, fuck this game. Moving on. Monday night. Doubleheader, baby. We got a lot to talk about in the first one of the doubleheader. We've got Baltimore going to Tampa Bay. Baltimore road favorites. You can get a money line at -180 at DraftKings. A Bucks home win +169 on ProfitX. Line is 3.5 over under 49.5. Ryan, start us off.
I'm gonna wait to see probably till tomorrow night to do some stuff with this game. I am intrigued by Baker's passing over,
Same.
and Godwin's over. I know you guys are all over that. Shane too. Um, but yeah, once I sit back and count my dollar bills from all the winnings tomorrow, I'm gonna put some money on this game. But you
Love
guys
it.
got more on this game, so go ahead.
Waleed?
So this has one of my top 5 bets of the week. It also has my second parlay. I decided to do a 2-leg parlay for my bonus bet from Thursday night that didn't hit because fucking garbage time touchdowns, man. Unbelievable. I decided to go Baker adjusted line of 300 yards and 3 touchdowns because Baltimore, everyone loves to talk about how good Baltimore's defense is. I still hear people talk about this on the radio, and it drags me nuts because Baltimore's pass defense is one of the worst in football.
Yes.
They're giving up over 8 yards per target to quarterbacks. Um, and Baker he's the QB2 in fantasy this year. Baker has been baking all year. This is a plus matchup for him. So I'm going for the big Baker game. 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. I didn't add any receivers to like boost this line because I think there's so many places this can come from that I just figured I'd just do a pure Baker bet on this one. On top of
Okay.
that, here's an interesting bet here. Mark Andrews over 28.5 is what his line is on FanDuel. Tampa Bay over the last 4 weeks is giving up 11 yards per tight ends. For inline routes, it's 11.3 yards on the and almost 13 yards over the last 4. We're getting worse and worse against. Mark Andrews has been getting better over the last couple of weeks. His line is still deflated for a slow start, so I think this is an exploitable line. I'm going to bet the Mark Andrews 28.5 yards. But the real bet here, the bet that I love the most here, Chris Godwin over 74. Baltimore's giving up 9.
Waleed, your audio sucks, bro. You keep cutting in
Oh,
and out.
I'm sorry. I don't know why it's cutting in and out.
There we go. Much better.
Okay, sorry. So sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Chris
I want to
Godwin.
hear your Chris Godwin propaganda.
Yeah, Chris Godwin. Baltimore is giving up 9.5 yards to the slot on the season per target. 9.5 yards per target to the slot. Over the last 4 weeks, that number's up to 10.6. They've been getting worse against the slot, which is where Chris Godwin makes his money. Chris Godwin's also been one of the best receivers in football. I know Tony has more than Godwin. You know what? I'm just going to pass it off.
All right. Listen, this is a matchup that Baker and Chris Godwin should crush in. Baker has the second best defensive adjusted fantasy points per dropback matchup of the week next to Joe Burrow. Here's something that I found interesting. Chris Godwin, second in the NFL behind Nico Collins, rest up king, in first downs per route run rate. So 15% of Chris Godwin's routes are first downs. He is second behind Nico Collins, rest up king, in PPR points per route run at 0.63. So I wanted to point out Chris Godwin has scored 5 touchdowns this year on 53 targets. That's as many touchdowns as he scored in 2022 and 2023 combined on 272 targets.
Holy.
That's a very telling stat.
If this game is projected to be a shootout, 49.5 spread. The Buccaneers implied total is 22.5. So they're expecting them to move the ball. Baltimore is a lot easier to pass on than run on.
Yep.
So this is Chris Godwin's smash spot. I think this is going to be a crush. I love it. I think it's going to be a major Baker and Godwin week. I think even if Tampa Bay gets waxed, because I think they might get waxed, I think they can still come through for betting and fantasy. So
And even if they do get waxed, all their props are going to hit because they're going to have to pass. So
Yeah.
all right, so let's move on. We are going to cover our last game of the week. Chargers go to Arizona. The Chargers fresh off Jim Harbaugh shitting his pants on the sideline. Our road favorites. You can get them at -125 on the money line at ESPN Bet. Profit X has a Cardinals home win at +112. Spread is 2. Over under 44 even. I'm just going to go first. I have the under in this game, under 44 even at Caesars. This game is going to be terrible. I'm really glad there are 2 Monday night games on this week. And that's it. So, Waleed, what do you got?
So there were some lines in this game that I thought were interesting. J.K. Dobbins, he was at 72.5 on FanDuel, I think. I think his rushing over is actually a pretty solid line this week. Arizona's giving up over the last 4 weeks 5.22 yards per rush attempt. I saw a Marvin Harrison Jr. line somewhere, but it's not there anymore at 35.5. I don't even know if he's going to clear concussion protocol.
He is.
Is he cleared?
Yes.
that's so dumb. That's so dumb.
Yeah, but I'm sure that line is adjusted now that he's cleared protocol. But I will say that the Chargers over the last 4 weeks are giving up 10.8 yards per target to all wide receivers, 10.5 yards per target to wide receivers lined up wide. So Marvin Harrison Jr. should be a decent play this week. Trey McBride, does he have a line yet? Because he didn't last time I checked. Let's see what the Trey McBride receiving line is. He's at 50.5
Yeah,
on
15.5.
BetMGM.
He's at 5.5 receptions too, which is plus money if you're interested in that. But I don't
uh,
know because Chargers defense has been surprisingly okay.
well, I will say that they're giving up 9.2 yards over the last 4 weeks to receivers lined up in the slot, which is where Trey McBride spends a lot of his time. So I think McBride's line, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s lines are both really interesting plays. After that, I don't know. There are some passing props. I'd say the Arizona Cardinals good matchup, but the problem is that would require me trusting the Chargers to pass the football, which I will not do because Jim Harbaugh doesn't want to do it. Greg Roman doesn't want to do it, so I don't want to bet it.
Okay.
Only thing I got is same with Tony. I like the under on this game. Remember I said about Sunday night games, 30, 32 and 10.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at primetime overs over the past 3 primetime unders over the last 3 seasons.
Okay.
81, 52 and 1 unders primetime Sunday and Monday night.
That is an interesting stat.
All right.
So it's like almost 65-70% skewed to the under. So
Okay. All right. So let's run through our bets of the week before we do our DFS plays. Since I am currently the ruler of Gambletown, I'm going to do it. So my top 5 bets of the week are Chris Godwin over 74.5 receiving, Justin Jefferson 100 receiving yards, AJ Brown over 72.5 receiving, Chuba Hubbard over 70.5 rushing, Brock Bowers over 61.5 receiving. Ryan, as the one with the best record, why don't you tell us your top 5 bets next?
I have Jefferson's over 91.5 receiving. I have Tank Dell over 4.5 receptions. I also have the over from that game at 47.5. I also have Hubbard at 70.5 rushing, and I have Zach Ertz at over 29.5 receiving. And just a little dash, a little sprinkle. I threw if you guys are interested, I threw in the Pollard rushing over too. That should be a good game for him.
Waleed, last one of the list. Deal with it. I'm kidding. Your top 5, my friend.
I got Brock Bowers over 60 and 60.5 on Bet Rivers. Receiving, I got Deontay Johnson over 64.5 BetMGM. Chris Godwin over 74.5 on FanDuel. Tony Pollard over 62.5 on DraftKings. And Drake London over 68.5 on FanDuel.
Okay,
Nice.
Waleed, since you're the parlay king, keep us going.
All right, so I got two parlays here. I got the Brock Bowers extravaganza, his over at 16.5, over 5.5 yards or 5.5 receptions, and a Brock Bowers touchdown gets plus 325. I'm going to put 5 units on it, and I'm going to probably boost that to give me much better odds. But I love Brock Bowers. The other one I have is I'm using one of my bonus bets on a Baker Mayfield special. Over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns is what I'm betting on for Baker. I think Baker is going to continue to bake, and I'm a Baker guy, so I'm going to bet on him.
Okay.
Sure.
Ryan, your parlays.
Yeah, sure. So my money line parlay this week, by the way, if you bet my parlays last week, you made some money because I went 2 for 2. Um, I took Detroit, Houston, LA, sorry, the Rams and Washington. And this is also called the Devil's Parlay because the odds on this, surprisingly, I didn't go into this trying to do this. I just went with my gut and went with my winners. And the odds came out to plus 666. So 10 units down on that will win you $766, or sorry, 7666.
It's worth
um,
noting that Ryan's gut is 22-8 on the season.
yeah. um, And then my same game parlay, I went with the Minnesota Detroit game. As I said earlier, I got Jefferson's Laporta's over 3.5 receptions, Jameson Williams over his 47.5 yards, and Goff's over passing 254.5. That
And
was
that's
I put 5 units down on that at plus 604 to do a little over 35.
okay. My same game is also in that game. It's Darnold over 225, Goff over 225, Jefferson over 91.5. That got me to plus 186, which brought me to 2868 on $10. My money line parlay: Bills, Bengals, Falcons, Rams, plus 269. Also hung $10 on it for 36.96 reward. I'm going to start with my millionaire bet since I am currently the commissar of Gambletown, and I'm rocking my $27 into a Nick Chubb anytime touchdown at plus 130, which would bring me back to 62.10. Ryan?
Nice. I am going balls out this week, as I said earlier, and I am going with a Grant Calcaterra touchdown at plus 500 to get me back on the board and start a new streak.
You don't
Okay.
like that? You don't
Eh,
want the plus $6,000 odds on two
On two,
touchdowns?
on two.
Stop it. Stop it. All right. So, Waleed?
I go. I'm betting Justin Jefferson. I'm betting him big. Over 150 yards at plus 480. He pays me $58.
Okay. All right, let's talk DFS. We've got our core guys here this week. So we'll start with quarterbacks. Ryan, who's your quarterback this week
If I were to pick one quarterback this week
on
of the
FanDuel?
games, right, of the game scripts that I like, I'm going to go with Jared Goff because, like I said, Minnesota's defense is really good against the run. And I think Detroit's going to have to pass a lot if they want to win this game.
Okay. Waleed, your quarterback.
So I'm going Andy Dalton at $52. I want to point 5,200. I want to point out Jared Goff on DraftKings 6,500.
Okay. I'm also on DraftKings, and I'm going to go with Sam Darnold, who is currently the 11th most expensive quarterback. All right, so let's go on to running backs. Ryan, who's your running back this week?
Man, there's so many I like, but if I'm looking to pay up at golf in my lineup, I'm gonna have to go with Chuba.
Okay.
He's my top 5 bet of the week. He's my favorite DFS running back of the week. I'm going Tony Pollard at 6,300.
Nice.
Okay, and I will be going with the Washington Commanders, Brian Robinson, RB15 on DraftKings.
Okay.
Ryan, your receiver.
This one's tough because a lot of the chalk is good this week. You know what? Come back to me.
All right, Wally, your receiver.
So since I'm going Andy Dalton, I'm going to pair him with the lovely Deontay Johnson at 6,600.
The NFL's leader in end zone targets.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with AJ Brown. This may shock you.
Okay.
Wide receiver.
Ryan, you know the obvious choice here if you want to go for a receiver. $8,500, Justin Jefferson. Just don't even worry about it.
That's true. Yeah, let's just roll with JJ.
Okay.
I,
While
I'll
you're
be
at it,
able to.
Ryan,
I'll be able to. That'll be actually. That's a good. If you could get Goff and JJ in a lineup, you should be able to figure something out. Especially if you're gonna look at one of my top mid-tier kind of shitty tight ends of the week at 5,100. We have two plays here. All right, guys. We've got Zach Ertz and Grant Calcaterra, both 5,100. Take your pick. They're both starting tight ends. They should be good.
who are you picking?
That's on FanDuel, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Calcaterra.
FanDuel.
Calcaterra is 3,200 on DraftKings.
Right.
Zach Ertz is
For
3,900.
for if I were to go with this lineup with Goff and Jefferson, I'd probably go with Ertz.
All right. So Wally, your tight end.
Well, if he's going Ertz, I'm actually going Kyle Pitts here at 4,500. He's got a really good matchup against Seattle. I think he's not like quite too expensive, but I think he's got top 3 potential overall, and I'm going big here.
Okay. And I'm paying up. I'm going George Kittle. He is tight end 2, but he is priced the same as wide receiver 25. And
Sure.
he goes for 20 plus points all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Ryan, your defense.
My defense this week. I don't know if there's a lot to pay down on. You know what? I got some exposure to Washington and a couple, but since I'm going with Hubbard, this one's tough. I'm gonna have to go. Damn it. A lot. There's not really good at paying down. There's
You know
so many
what,
good
Ryan?
matchups
I'm
this
gonna
week.
give I'm gonna give 2 defenses.
No, I'm gonna go Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, you can pay up. That's fine. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm a big fan of the Rams versus the Raiders at 3,000 on DraftKings. I think the Raiders suck. Aiden O'Connell. I will just pay it for a nice, good matchup and not even worry
Yeah,
about it.
Bowers will get his yard still.
What are you doing, Tony?
I am going through the muck. I'm going with the Houston Texans.
Against the Packers, really?
Ooh,
Jordan Love, 8 interceptions.
Okay,
true.
I could see that, but I'm going to throw something else out at you. For 3,300, you could go Bengals against Cleveland.
Bengals have such a bad
That's
defense.
true.
Yeah, but you know who you but the
They're playing
Browns have
Cleveland.
a historically bad offense. Well, I will point out the Bengals were one of my defensive streams of the week. Like they are historically bad right now on offense.
So hang on. So let me finish.
Okay.
So Houston is a great run defense. The Packers cannot run the ball. They've already struggled running the ball.
Yes, they have.
And so I believe that this is a game where if Houston scores, Green Bay's got to score. Green Bay becomes one-dimensional. Houston gets 2 picks.
Okay, I can
Sure.
see that.
Yeah, that's a good game script.
That's possible. So that's why Houston is my team. So real quick, one time through: Ryan, Goff, Chuba, Jefferson, Ertz, Pittsburgh, Waleed, Dalton, Pollard, Deontay, Pitts. The Rams, I'm going Darnold, Brian Robinson, AJ Brown, George Kittle, Houston. And that's it.
All right.
DFS. And that's
Oh, yeah.
Gambletown, folks. So Evan, I think it's about time for us to head out. In the meantime, usually when there's not a foreign game, they'll do the start or sit show with Jeff Crisco on this very same channel. We do Thursday Night Farceball on Thursday night, the official sidecast of Thursday Night Football. We've decided that, and Jeff Bezos. We do, what do you do, Waleed? You write the defensive streamers article every week on footballabsurdity.com.
Get the waiver wire article too. And then we also got 2 really wonderful podcasts that we got going. We got the TH Fantasy podcast with Shane, Ryan, and Tony, and we got the Football Absurdity
Fatty brings up that the
podcast.
Bengals are getting some defensive players back this week. I don't mind it. I just
It's a risk. It's a risk. But like I like betting against bad, and I do get the concerns because like here's the thing: you can pass on the Bengals defense. The problem is that would require passing downfield. I don't think Watson has shown he can do it. So
we'll see you guys next week. Yeah, Football Absurdity Podcast, TH Fantasy Podcast. Check us out. Listen in. Thanks for coming by, asking us questions, leaving comments. Fatty, always post more pictures of your cat in the Discord. It's delightful.
we always want cat picks.
Love orange cats. They're my fave. So yeah, until then, guys, we'll see you next week. Evan, I think it's time for us to hit the road.
Yep.
It's been a pleasure. I feel like this is gonna be a good week for us. Hope you guys feel the same.